What's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horde. This is Pro Wrestling. It's the podcast celebrating the past, present, futuristic history. Yeah, you got it.
Nailed it.
So far, so good.
New night, same Gary.
All of the stuff about professional wrestling, the greatest sport of all time. Here we are, and of course, I am not alone. What happened is I knocked over my drink like exactly at the same time. Just like I broke my glass the other day, and I just knocked over my drink right at the same time. But hey, it's Will. Will's right over there.
I'm here. Hey,
and the doctor is in the house. Rob Stinson
making house calls tonight, guys.
I don't know what that means. Bye, Gary. Anyways, Rob and I'll take it. So Rob.
Well, what had happened was.
Oh, he's back. Never mind.
I'm back. I just had to get a paper towel, and, just so I don't just leave like a mess here. Oh God, I'm nervous because it's a new night. It's a new night. Yeah, it's just it could be a whole new audience, but luckily for us, it's not all new people. I see Willie Bowen out there. I see a third right wing, James Lawrence. I see Rock Says. I see Dave Scooby. I see Woodland Goblin. There's John Ware. Look at this. It's a hashtag NWA fam / hashtag WrestleFam. Whoever, I don't know. I don't even know if WrestleFam is a thing.
It is now.
But, yeah. What's weird is Kerouac is wondering in the chat is if this is a conversation taped on Tuesday, not a month ago, and it's just showing up as live right now. Yes, it is. And we hope
we're going to cover some never before seen matches.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, that's actually a good point. No, Kerouac, we are just assuming that you're going to show up on December the 2nd, 2020 to hear this conversation. And so welcome. Hopefully we're not wrong. Anyway, no, thank you guys for showing up, man. It's our first Wednesday show and an early show, which we don't normally do, but we're hoping that it brings in new people. We get a chance to grow our community and talk about all kinds of stuff in wrestling so far. All right, so I'm rambling. Obviously, I'm just cleaning up this beer in front of me. All right, so this is going to be a loosey-goosey show. That's the word we've been using, or at least I've been using. And we don't have like a lot of plans for today. We just want to talk about everything you guys have seen so far this week in professional wrestling. We're going to recap some stuff, talk about some future stuff, and just get your views on anything from Monday Night Raw to AEW Dynamite. Well, not AEW Dynamite. Dark has happened. ROH has happened. And NWA Shockwave, UWN Primetime Live, some big news coming out of there. So lots of stuff to talk about, and we're going to do it now. But first, we're going to jump into, we're going to keep you in the loop. Love that. That is beautiful. So the first thing I wanted to bring up, if I could, is just to give Rob props that he made sure that on our top 5 on Sunday, if you guys missed that, he wanted the Mike Tyson Roy Jones Jr. fight to end up as a one of our top 5 prize fights. We ended up sticking it Rob at like number 3 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we did do that. Well, it was announced that Saturday's Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. match brought in 1.2 million buys.
Wow.
So Tyson still got it, dog. He still got it. It was a big deal. And yeah.
Some of those buyers were buying it to see Nate Robinson, okay? Let's be honest.
You think that's what it was?
I thought that YouTuber guy was on there too, right?
Yeah. So you got his guys.
Yeah. Well, I know you don't pay attention to boxing at all, but did you at least watch that knockout?
No. Which one?
Nate, Jake Paul knocking out Nate Robinson.
Oh no, I heard about it, but I haven't actually seen the footage of it.
It was dirty.
Got deboed, man. Got deboed.
Yep. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because that's I think the year's biggest sporting event so far has been UFC 251, which was like Usman and Jorge Masvidal. But that one ended up getting 1.3 million, but we're still counting numbers. We're still in the middle of the election. We're doing recounts. We're doing all of this stuff. So Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. might be the biggest sports event, like as far as on pay-per-view purchased, that kind of thing. So well worth it to have made it in our top 5 is I guess where I'm going with that. So Rob made the right call that we should include it in the discussion. So I just wanted to, I don't always admit that Rob's right, but I'll give it to him on this one. Just for context, I mean, the biggest, like the boxing, I mean, what was it? The last huge one would be like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and that did like 800,000 buys. And so we're already like well beyond that. So here you go. Congratulations, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. You guys headlined a big ass fight. So that's looking good. And everybody that made fun of Triller, who purchased the rights for it, they're
talk to me about that. What's that about? I tried out Triller.
Yeah, they bought the rights to it to like be responsible for it or whatever, the streaming and all of that stuff. I mean, although it was like on Fight TV, which is where I think most of us saw it. It was on regular pay-per-view and Fight TV, but Triller reportedly produced it or whatever. Huh. And anyway, they go make some bank.
It's interesting.
They're getting paid.
We got to get on Triller, I guess. Are we supposed to get on Triller now?
Yeah, that's it. I think so. I don't know. I've still got the app. I've still got the app on my phone from the first
one
time.
We need to get on is LinkedIn or Tumblr. Those are the ones you want to start on.
Well, Pinterest. We need to get on Pinterest.
Pinterest. That's my. Hey, Tanya over there as we speak, looking at that junk. On Pinterest.
I feel pretty strongly that I feel like we had some brand new guests about 5 minutes ago, and now they're gone.
Yeah, okay. What is this about? They're like, what is this? What is this? Is boxing? I'm out of here.
We will be the only wrestling show on Pinterest, man. Well, there's a whole market. Pinterest.
That's Pinteresting.
Well, I know you got some news, bruh. Give us some news.
Well, I mean, it's not really news. It's kind of just a recap of a podcast that came out this week. So I don't know if you guys have listened to Renee Paquette's new podcast called Oral Sessions. I don't want to hear it. That's the name of it. But she's had her husband on there, John Moxley, which is kind of cool. I think she's 3 episodes in right now, but she had Josh Barnett on there, and they were talking a little bit about Bloodsport, and it was just an interesting conversation. I know we all watched Bloodsport and kind of covered it on this show, especially from a prize fighting perspective. It was a really great show. So Josh Barnett talking on her show, and this is just some of the quotes that he said, but he said there's so much fluffy wrestling. So to have something that's not that's stripped down and raw, it stands out. It's become something that's unique. Also, what makes it even more unique is when people try to steal the gimmick, which is a little, I think, jab at Raw Underground. Bite it, rip it off. The one major one, really the first, either not at all. I don't know what that means. I understand why they want to do it, but it only helps us at the end of the day. I've seen other organizations try and rip the idea off. It's fine. What it does show people is I'll just do MMA moves in a match. I'll just take the ropes down. No, that's not it. You can try to look like the packaging all you want, but you will not be the product. So Josh Barnett going over there, putting over Bloodsport, which, man, I agree with. I mean, what I watched of Raw Underground didn't hold a candle to what we saw on Bloodsport. And he talks a little bit more about future plans for Bloodsport to make it even bigger, make it more of a regular thing. So just from a prize fight perspective, prize fight wrestling, that was a really cool conversation. So go check that out on Renee Paquette, formerly Renee Young, also Renee Moxley, whatever you want to call her, her new podcast called Oral Sessions. So it's a good listen.
Sounds like it. I love the sound of a good oral session. Rob,
you know it.
Rob, did you have any
Google
special news that you you said, I believe, Will, an SEO dream or something like that?
Yeah, don't Google it. Just Try to find the direct link somewhere. If you don't Google image it either, for sure.
Yeah.
Rob, did you have anything you wanted to add on the news items?
I'm sort of the resident team historian here, and today is an important anniversary in the history of the National Wrestling Alliance, the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. And so we prepared this little clip today. It's available on TikTok on the NWA podcast there. You got it for me, Will?
Yep, let's roll it.
Known as the Giant of the East, Shohei Baba is one of the most important personalities in the history of wrestling. Internationally respected, Baba became a fixture in the sport in the 1960s, traveling throughout Japan, South America, and the United States, even wrestling Bruno Sammartino for the WWF Championship in Madison Square Garden. Baba founded All Japan Pro Wrestling in 1972, and as part of building an international brand, he invited stars from around the globe to compete. In Kagoshima, Japan, he reached the mountaintop, defeating Jack Briscoe for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Baba's reign lasted only 7 days, and over the next 5 years he would win the title twice more, neither reign lasting for more than a week. His reigns, however, were not insignificant. Baba's victory over Briscoe, after all, was the first time that the NWA title had changed hands outside of North America, making it now a truly global title. The date of that title change? December 2nd, 1974, 46 years ago today. Thank you for watching. This is the NWA Presents. This is Pro Wrestling History.
Wow.
There you go.
That's classy. Wow. Rob, I didn't realize how stubby your arms are.
Yeah.
Well, you don't really get the effect over the internet. You gotta see it in person.
Yeah,
kind of like running into Gary for the first time in person, man. Those squatty little legs.
No, I seem so much bigger on camera, but 4'9". Yeah, it's a rough life. Oh man, let's see here. Well, we would be remiss if we did not run through one other thing today. Unfortunately, today the passing of the great Pat Patterson. He was a legend in the business, the very first Intercontinental Champion. Rob, you probably know a little bit more than me about that, but a lot of you may just know him as him and Gerald Briscoe running next to Vince McMahon in the Attitude Era, that sort of thing. But yeah, just a great one, and he is unfortunately he passed away today, I think.
Yeah, that's was super sad when I saw that today. And I mean, he's one of those guys that there's just an undeniable mark on the sport of pro wrestling from Pat Patterson. And it wasn't that he was having an impact, decades ago. I mean, he was having an impact on wrestling, this over the past year. I mean, he's been that active and contributing that much. So super sad. Thoughts and prayers to his family.
Right. Also, a pioneer of sorts in wrestling. One of the first openly homosexual entertainers in the industry. Came out, I think, in 2014. I was reading that earlier, and so he was a bit of a trailblazer when it comes to that too. The amount of courage it takes to do that in a business like pro wrestling speaks for itself. But Pat Patterson is one for the ages, and now he belongs to the ages until Valhalla.
Yeah. Also, I guess it'd be worth mentioning too that I've heard plenty of stories, like when you hear interviews and that sort of thing, also credited as one of the great minds behind the scenes as far as booking and that sort of thing, and finishes and that sort of stuff. So that Vince leaned on him pretty heavily for a while there.
You saw acknowledgement today from across the wrestling world, regardless of promotion, from Shane McMahon to the real world champion Nick Aldis, to everybody had something kind to say about the contributions that Pat Patterson made. And at the end of the day, I remember when Flair was inducted into the Hall of Fame the first time, he said something that has always stuck with me, and something that I even use when I'm engaging my colleagues in my professional life at work, at school. And that is that there's nothing in the world like the respect of your peers. People want titles, and that's great, and accolades, but there's nothing in the world like having your peers' respect. And he is one that certainly had it, universally respected.
Yeah. And as some folks in the chat mentioning, Corey there mentioning he helped book the Royal Rumble every year. And Rock says he came out during the Legends House on WWE Network. Yeah, I do remember that. I think it was one of those things that was kind of known by groups of people, but like he had never officially made an announcement until that show. But yeah, absolutely, James Lawrence there with the RIP Pat Patterson. So we're going to do an acknowledgement there to the very first Intercontinental Champion. So big deal. All right. Well, fellas, anything else you got in the news realm you want to talk about before we just go for a free-for-all or something?
Let's hop in.
All right. So, what do we call this segment, Will? It's Falls Count Anywhere.
Oh, yeah. That's what it is.
I slaved for hours waiting for you to make those graphics, and you're not going to use them. That's
so
awesome.
I thought Falls Count Anywhere was the period in the show when we engaged the public, the live chat.
It is. But, well, since we didn't have like a strict plan here, we figured we just let the chat engage with us as we talk about whatever we talk about. We don't have a strict format for today's show. It's just kind of a casual. In honor of Pat Patterson booking the Royal Rumble, we're making it a Royal Rumble. Just everybody's
in the ring. Everybody get in.
Yeah. And so here's a good one to start with. Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast. Welcome to the show. So Shockwave is just a repeat of the weekly pay-per-view, he says. Or she says, I don't know. Yeah. So guys, let's talk about Shockwave for a minute. It premiered this past Tuesday or Monday if you are a Patreon member of the NWA. And I watched it today, and it's a quick watch, easy watch, 30 minutes, like 33 minutes, I think, exactly. And it's interesting. There is one previously unseen match, which was Jordan Cruz versus Eli Drake, which is a very good match, actually. It was a lot of fun, and Eli's like on point, even more so than I think he was the times we've seen him here recently on EWN Primetime Live. And the things it reminded me of, is my quick notes, is like, God, I miss Aldis promos. It recapped the Aldis promo at the beginning. It just reminds you, like, there is a different level sometimes to some of these guys, and it's just Nick Aldis is the man when it comes to cutting a cool promo. I also made a note about Joe Galli's beard. He is letting that thing come on out, so soon he'll join the Bearded Trio. And
yeah, we got a spot for you right down here, Joe.
Yeah, come on, Joe Galli. And let's see, what else? You got the Camille versus Heather Monroe match. If you're watching Primetime Live, you've already seen this matchup. It's a good match. Heather gets the best of Camille more than we've ever seen anybody get. So that's interesting. When I was watching this match, I did note that commentary sounds weird, though, when you're watching it now, and it's like 6-week-old commentary, and they're talking about Thunder Rosa is the women's champion, and like just all this other stuff that's going on. You feel kind of left out. And then you got the Nick Aldis versus Mike Bennett matchup, which was amazing. I forgot. The thing is I don't think I ever got a chance to go back and watch it again. And so on the initial premiere on Fight TV, there was a lot of video issues during that show. And as we noted on that show, our recap show that week. And this time it was good to see it all the way through with no interruption. And it's a fantastic match. It really is. And Mike Bennett, Nick Aldis, it's another one of those things where I was watching, I was like, oh, wow, these guys have like another level, like just some professionalism and just like crisp and just badass action. It's a grudge match in there. It's a really, really good matchup. And so I'd love to see those two lock up again. But Will, any thoughts on NWA Shockwave?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're all going to be disappointed. I'll just point it out in the fact that it wasn't a lot of new content. We did get one new match. But my thing is this. Overall, it's a positive thing because the NWA are reestablishing themselves. So the channel has been dormant, so to speak, for a little while. There hasn't been a lot of new content. So at least they're taking some of this content that has happened on other platforms, packaging it, putting it out on their channel, framing it the way that they want to for their promotion. And so to me, that's a positive. So yeah, it's a negative that we didn't get like an entire brand new card of matches we'd never seen before and things like that. But it's a step in the right direction. And I think we're all super eager for an NWA full-blown return and Power coming back at some point and stuff like that. This is a step in that direction. And, you know, I get that it's pay-per-view replays, but it's also free on YouTube. So like, it's not like you're paying for it again. So that's pretty cool. And the people that didn't pay for the pay-per-view that are NWA fans, now they're getting to see these matches. So that's kind of the thinking behind that as well. So for me, it's a positive all the way around. I mean, I'm glad that there is a space on the internet and on the YouTube right now for NWA putting out some new stuff. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. First of all, to answer that 90s Wrestling Podcast's question, 'twas I that suggested Doug Williams would be a fantastic member of Strictly Business, just so you know, which I think he would be, and to turn that into sort of a reimagination of the British invasion, including Camille, obviously in that. But then you'd have three solid Brits in there, no Scots represented in that tandem. But, no, to the point that Will was making, he's absolutely right. I mean, you have to first of all, this is showing NWA Live on its preferred platform, which is YouTube. So the target there is for the many people that weren't privy to UWN or didn't purchase it. And so the Camille Heather Monroe match and the Nick Aldis Bennett match, although they've certainly heard about it, would have been new to many of the viewers. And I think if you're going to select two matches to show again, these two are particularly important. One, because Heather Monroe here versus Camille places Camille, who is, you know, one of the most important NWA personalities, squarely in the context of the broader women's wrestling universe, as it were, against a very credible opponent. Heather Monroe is someone that has been spoken of very highly by people like Brian Rosa, by Thunder Rosa. She's, again, another respected lady. We put our picks out on this show, and I think Gary and I had picked Camille, and Will, being informed. I'm not trying to throw shade on you, but being an educated wrestler and understanding about scientific wrestling and all that, he picked Heather Monroe to win that match. And that wasn't like a foregone conclusion. I think our assessment was that, you know, obviously Heather Monroe is talented and has got the experience and maybe the scientific pedigree, but she's not going to be enough to overcome the skill set that Camille brings along with just the incredible power. And so placing Camille in a broader women's wrestling context outside of the NWA personalities that we've become accustomed to, I think is important for people to see that, no, this Camille is legit. Camille can hang with anybody, period. So I like that. And then two, I think that there was such a great deal of emphasis given to the Bennett-Nick Aldis match because it was the first advertised time that Aldis was defending the World Championship after so many hundreds of days, and the criticisms about, is it a legit reign without these? And as much as we would say, look, guys, it's not like throughout history, unusual circumstances have not restricted the amount to which, or the amount of times to which the champs can defend. We've seen it before. We speak of Earl Caddick during World War I, who left to fight in World War I with the title and came back and defended it after a couple of years. Times are different. You know, if Nick Aldis could be in the ring.
Actually wore the title in World War I.
Wore it, man. In the but
it took some gunfire. It's
right. That's right. Which is why they had to replace it with the Lee Thez belt, because it was all jacked up, you know, from shrapnel and whatnot. But that's tomorrow. This is the NWA Presents. This is pro wrestling history. But this finally, Nick Aldis gets to come out of this hiatus of very few title defenses, and make no bones about it, the champ wants to defend the belt. This is the man who was the architect of the Aldis Crusade. He wants to be in the ring as oft as he can, but obviously he doesn't call the shots on everything. There's other considerations that have to be taken into account that are way above our perspective even. But he got in that ring and had a fantastic match, and we get to see this match in a very pristine format. Even those of us who got to see it, unless we have gone back and watched it since, this is the first time we got to see it unbroken, without distortion, without buffering. And so Gary was just mentioning earlier today in our Discord, our private conversation, that, gosh, man, not only can Aldis talk, but this Joker can freaking go. Look at this match. It's an amazing match, and it is. It only went about 12 minutes. This is a match that could easily have captivated us for half an hour or longer. But in 12 minutes, they told a story. It was legit. So we got Shockwave. We got one original match, which was a good one, with an important guy, Eli Drake. We got a very important women's match, placing Camille in a broader, legit wrestling context. And then we got one of the best matches of the whole pandemic era, featuring Nick Aldis and Mike Bennett. So it wasn't that bad. I would expect in the future for Shockwave to be something along those lines of something new and something old, kind of mixing it together and continue, especially, with the direction that UWN is taking now, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I think that they announced next week's already on the show. Week number 2 is going to feature a couple of other matches that you have seen from Primetime Live. One of those being Eli Drake versus Eric Watts. That match is going to show on Shockwave. They announced Camille will be in action, but they didn't say against who. I'm guessing this may have been another match, not unlike the Eli Drake match, that we'll see another Camille match. And then they also announced that the NWA Women's Championship on the line, Thunder Rosa versus Priscilla Kelly. So if you didn't get a chance to see this previously, that is well worth your time. Thunder Rosa versus Priscilla Kelly is amazing.
That match is probably my number one of the 2020 UWN Primetime Live era. I mean, that was top notch. So I'm excited to watch that again.
Exactly. Well, while we're talking about it, since we're on this subject and just going through things that happened this week, let's go jump into Primetime Live for a minute here. It was a show that, they'd gotten to this point where there was less and less initially. I think one of the criticisms we've had, if any, and we've enjoyed Primetime Live, but there was the promise of a lot of NWA participation, and unfortunately that's dwindled off. And clearly they're still working together. The Shockwave program is out. But this show, you can tell, they're suffering the same thing that a lot of other places are suffering right now. The pandemic era is causing different issues. I think they even said on the show there was a women's match that completely got postponed due to both women coming in contact with someone with COVID. So you can tell it's a frustrating situation. So I don't envy David Marquez, and here on this show we're huge fans of David Marquez. He was on the show on Sunday night. If you guys missed that, it was a great interview, and I'm guessing that he knew some of what was going to happen on this show, and just didn't want to break the news quite yet and let it happen naturally on Primetime Live. But essentially, the big news that we're talking about there is that Primetime Live did announce that they are going on hiatus, at least until after the first of the year. So just due to the issues with booking these matches, and that California is one of the more strict states, which Marquez did bring up in our talk on Sunday, that you don't know day to day what's going to happen. At any moment it can shut down. So it looks like, at least with Primetime Live, they've decided to go the route of not having that stress of not knowing day to day what could happen, and they are going to go ahead and close down. Will, did you have any thoughts on that just initially?
No, I mean, it's not totally unexpected. I mean, as you mentioned, when we were chatting with Dave on Sunday night, I mean, he did express some concerns about that. I mean, I think LA County, which is, the Thunder Studios is right on the border, according to him, of Long Beach and LA, and but LA County's pretty much completely shutting down this week again, and they have a lot of really strict measures in line. And plus, you got to think, I mean, it's not a UWN Primetime Live is not a local promotion. It's billed and booked as, a worldwide thing. And they've been bringing people in from all over, and that can be particularly tricky, with a kind of a resurfacing of COVID and stuff like that. So I think it probably just got to a point where it was just too difficult for everyone. And they didn't know, probably up until the day of if people were going to be able to make it or not. So I think it's a wise choice on their part. But, we'll see. We'll see in 2021 if they bring it back and what the vibe of it is. But I think it was the right choice.
Rob, probably not initially what they intended, but actually maybe the timing can work out because, we had been discussing Chris Dickinson and the situation with his injury, and he's up for a world championship title match against Mike Bennett. So we were wondering if they were going to have to just skip over him for now. And it looks like that's even being taken into consideration, and they're still hanging on to that being a match. They still heavily talked about that being the match, that Marquez is adamant that will be the match. But I was wondering your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, that's certainly got to be one of the considerations. Now, listen, I'm a high school athletic director, among other things, and we had to, through a number of things, not just COVID cases, but close quarantine injuries, through a number of situations, we had to forfeit the last 2 games of the year, which took us out of playoff contention. That's a hard decision to make. But you have to make those decisions when you have so many things that are going to essentially gut the program of any chance of really moving forward to have any resemblance of what you want it to. And it already pained them to have to modify the cards and modify the tournament bracket the way they had to. And we came up with the finals, although the finals was what we predicted. The road to the finals was quite different than what we expected and what would even have been possible given the original bracket. But you take into account travel restrictions, concerns about health and whatnot, and then certain injuries and the prospect of losing maybe what might be the hallmark match of your debut season. It all makes sense. We're going to take a little bit of time. Everybody can heal up. We've got vaccines coming out in mid-December. They're saying that possibly by June, every American who wants one can take one. And we're definitely, even though we're not out of the woods yet, we're about to win this war against this virus. And whether it's immediately in January or whether it's spring or early summer, UWN is going to come back. And by that point, there will be a lot of hype. There'll have been a lot of trash talk. There'll be a lot of social media exchange. There'll be a lot of promos featuring Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson and and Mike Bennett, and they'll give us what we want. So,
yeah, I did love that on this episode. For those of you who didn't catch it, there was a great match between Richie Slade of Beef Candy versus Fred Rosser. Fred Rosser, if you guys have been missing out on him since his Darren Young days in WWE, him over in New Japan and on UWN Primetime Live, he's the total package, man. Amazing look, excellent skill, and just a cool entrance, everything. I love Fred Rosser, and he made it very clear, like he was coming in and he wanted a shot at that title, that he was in the contention for it. There was also a great match between Slice Boogie and Davey Boy Smith Jr. Davey Boy Smith Jr. coming out on top in that one, but also making it very clear his goal is the UWN championship. So they're keeping that discussion alive. Also on the card were Kevin Martinson versus Dan Joseph, which was a good match, and Showtime Jordan Cruz versus Golden Boy Jordan Clearwater. Jordan Clearwater, if you guys haven't been following Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, is the brand new Hollywood Heritage Champion, and so he's making waves right now. Young dude, but really looks good in the ring, man. I'm a big fan of what he does there, and the headliner was actually Levi Shapiro with Howdy Price versus Anthony Idol. That match kind of broke down because of interference, but then it kind of led to a kerfluffle in the middle of the ring afterwards with Jordan Clearwater and Dan Joseph and Fred Rosser and everybody coming out and just basically just taking turns beating the hell out of Levi Shapiro. So that's kind of how they closed out the final episode of UWN Primetime Live. Gonna miss the voice of Todd Kindley, Jason Kincaid, whose name I finally got right, I think. And
12 weeks in.
Yeah, 12 weeks in. And Blake Bulletproof Truth actually got the ring and got a little piece of Levi Shapiro in the final match there. And Howdy Price, actually. I think he but there you go. Anyway. So that is what's up with UWN Primetime Live. And
I got to
Go
say,
ahead,
Gary, I just want to point out Ricky Slade and Flex McCallion are another one of the pleasant, discoveries that we've made during UWN Primetime Live. Now, it's not that these guys are strangers to pro wrestling, but you think UWN has been known here in Primetime Live for showcasing excellent women's wrestling, but the tag teams that we've been introduced to, aside from individual guys like Chris Dickinson and Fred Rosser, who are mainstays, but now we get to see them up close and personal. Tag teams like the Bodega, like Gentleman Jurist and what's
Robin Shaw.
Robin Shaw, handsome Robin Shaw, man. We kind of those guys kind of grew on us a little bit at the after some exchange on social media, and they came out with their second appearance match was actually really good, and then we got to think of big time Money Brothers, the Money Brothers, right?
Real Money Brothers.
Real Money Brothers.
Yeah.
But and this tag team of Beef Candy, even though Flex McCallion has consistently been outside the ring, presumably due to injuries or something else, these guys can talk. They look good. They're entertaining. They're physical. They're clever. A lot of people probably hate them, but that's because they're really good at being creepy and antagonistic and just slimy, man. These guys are a great heel tag team for someone who doesn't even believe in heels. I'm really happy at having gotten.
Just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
That's right. That's right.
No, I'll agree with you. And I mean, obviously, now we're talking about tag teams, so I'm here. But yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of great tag teams, all the ones you just mentioned. Beef Candy took a while to grow on me, and it's funny because when you first hear the name Beef Candy, you're like, what? That's dumb, right? But you're supposed to think that, like, that's the point. Like, they're a perfect kind of contrast in body type and style, and you put them together with this weird branding, and they just execute it so well. And I love that interaction that you're talking about from the outside. Like, you never see one without the other. I mean, it's a perfect, just antagonistic heel tag team that you love to hate. And if they're not there, you miss them almost. And that's something that, we wouldn't have been exposed to without Primetime Live. So I'm very appreciative of that. Between the women's wrestling and the tag team wrestling that they put out, it's definitely been an enjoyable show.
Want to give a shout out to James Lawrence in the chat. Virus is no joke. My girl had it almost a month ago and is still suffering for it. I'm on quarantine right now because a coworker caught it. I'm waiting on my results. I feel okay. James, we wish you the best of luck. Wish your girl the best of luck as well. That certainly sucks. We hope nothing comes of it for you, and you're free and clear on that one. Want to welcome Woodland Goblin, who is enjoying the show on his brand new reclining leather couch.
Ooh.
Thanks for hanging out with us, breaking that couch in. All right. Well, Rob, you brought up a name that actually helps me move into the next segment before we hit a break here for a minute. Danny Limelight. You brought up him. He's one of our favorites that we've met on UWN Primetime Live. You could have also caught him last night on AEW Dark, where he participated in a match against Brandon Cutler. Fortunately, he did not come out on top. But I will say this. He looked amazing. And Taz, Excalibur, and the other fella whose name just escaped me, it was...
Jim Ross.
Nope. Anthony Gogo.
Tony, you talk about Tony Schiavone?
Yeah, that's it. Tony Schiavone. It's I believe it's Tony Schiavone is how it's pronounced. Schiavone. Today. Anyway, Danny Limelight was on there. He lost the match, but they were putting him over like crazy. Scooby in the chat pointing out that Limelight made Cutler look so good. You might be right, Scooby. It may have just been Limelight making him look good. I mean, it was a cool match, man. It was athletic as all hell. I don't know if you guys got a chance to catch that one, but it's worth your time. Check it out. Danny Limelight versus Brandon Cutler. Other people on that show, as I recall,
hundreds of others.
Yeah. There's always hundreds of matches on AEW Dark, and it's awesome. Hundreds of matches on AEW Dark.
No exaggeration at all.
If not thousands.
Yeah. It's AEW Dark is, if you want just straight wrestling, just to take your mind off anything else, and you just want match after match after match after match. I mean, they just keep coming. And but you know who stood out to me on this week's AEW Dark? I have to say this, and I tweeted about it earlier. But our boy, goddamn Ricky Starks, that man is so good. So good. And if I don't care which one of you's watching right now, and you don't think that Ricky Starks is a superstar, go back to AEW Dark and watch that dude, just his entrance alone and then the match. Tell me that guy's not headed straight to the top. Like, he is 100% going to be a big dog at AEW. I believe it. And again, the commentary team putting him over constantly. The other guy, not Shivani, but the other Tony, telling Taz, it was actually funny, the interaction they have. One of the things I like on Dark is their interactions are so loose, but he was telling Taz, like, this is the greatest thing you ever did in your career was getting Ricky Starks on your team. And he was like, all right. I mean, I think I did some stuff besides that, but I appreciate that. And,
no, that's the greatest thing he's ever done.
He's like, fine, the greatest thing you've done in this chapter of your career. He's like, all right, I'll take that. And, but Ricky Starks just has his entrance down. He's got the attitude, just the moves. Man, whoever let that dude go, come on. That Ricky Starks is the man. He really is.
Yeah, he's positioned. He's positioned well. He's positioned really well too. I mean, with Taz and that whole crew, like he's definitely. I think somebody mentioned it here, Jedi Warrior. I mean, he's definitely got gold in his future, in my opinion. He's perfectly positioned for it, whichever way they want to take him. So at this point, we just sit back and enjoy the ride and watch him keep rising. Because you're spot on, Gary. That he's a superstar.
Rob, have you been able to catch a lot of his stuff? Because the thing is that, I mean, I think he's positioned appropriately because he's like consistently on AEW Dark. He's always got a match, and he's always on commentary at some point with Taz, like hanging out with him and talking. So I think they know, like, they're just like easing him into it.
That's what I was going to point out. He not only can the man work in the ring, and he's well positioned on Dynamite too. I mean, he's always in there with. I mean, this guy is already, without exception, NWA talent has gone over to AEW and has been put in a position to shine, which they deserve to. But you see Ricky Starks jump on commentary during the Bates Gracia match, and this Joker not only can work, he can talk. Man, he's an entertaining talker, and that's a thing that is really difficult to teach. You gotta have the gift of gab, and that's probably the hardest skill for a wrestler to develop. You either got it or you don't, or you at least have some sort of element of it. And that's why the ones that really stand out, like a Nick Aldis or an Eli Drake or a Thunder Rosa, they stand out because Eddie Kingston. They stand out not only because of their in-ring ability, that's obviously the main reason, but they accent it so well with talking. Every time any of those people I just mentioned speaks, gosh, it's so entertaining, captivating, believable, or just enraging. Any of those things, they know how to manipulate. And Ricky Starks is gifted. He's just gifted.
Yeah, there's like this. I'm not going to pretend that I'm in the business or I'm a professional wrestler or anything like that. But they always talk about, like in interviews you hear and all of those things, that they're just these intangibles, like these little pieces of a character. And even if you watched him and all you know of Ricky Starks is NWA Power, I think already there, especially around the time he won the TV title, you had to already be believing. But if you see him on AEW, I think he's elevated his game even more over on AEW, and he is just something special. There's these little things that he does, from, just like shoulder blocking somebody in the turnbuckle and blowing a kiss to the camera at the same time, like just these little factors, just the way you just feel it when he's in the ring, man. Ricky Starks is on top of his game. He is on his way, and that's not just me blowing smoke because he's been good to the show, which we do appreciate. But The guy's got it for real. Let's see. It's nice to see Pretty Peter Avalon on there. Also, he's finally getting some wins. So good for that guy. I will point out. Let's see. Anything? Did you guys have anything from Dark that stood out to you that you wanted to mention, or Rob does? Rob,
you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. Lindsay Snow may not have come out with a win, but I guarantee you, Eva Lise is not going to be running that mouth when it comes to the American Kaiju. It's not going to happen because these two ladies had a fantastic, very physical match, as they always do. And, Eva Lise has a penchant for popping off, man, and even no-selling. We saw that happen to our girl, Thunder Rosa, that's not going to happen with Lindsay Snow because this is the blood sport champion, man. She is dangerous. She's so savage and dangerous, and she'll make you hurt for it. And surprisingly, I was surprised Eva Lise came out with the win here. I expected Lindsay Snow to win it. The wins have not come as frequently for her as I would like, but it's not because of the lack of talent. I think that she's on the cusp of breaking out. Obviously, the blood sport championship was a big deal, and her being recognized and being respected enough to be placed in positions on AEW and UWN to shine, I think just speaks to the fact that Lindsay Snow is going to be a fixture for a long, long time. And somebody's going to scoop her up. Hopefully it's the NWA, but I want to see her on a main roster holding championship gold.
I think, dude, when I look at Lindsay Snow, it's just that same thing I felt with Thunder Rosa. It's just undeniable. There's no way that Lindsay Snow is not going to be on top of her game. Obviously, she's not even signed necessarily with AEW, so I'm not saying that. I mean, but she's been all over the place. The woman busts her ass everywhere she goes, and she is showing up at every date that she can make, just from Bloodsport to NWA to UWA.
Royals, man. I mean, doing combat against men, seasoned, skilled, professional men in the ring or not in the ring, in the body count battle royal, very violent. But Lindsay Snow, again, is someone that I don't know what it is about her, man, but she just brings out, like, we've said it, we've had the debate over who is the perfect opponent for Thunder Rosa. And there's something about Lindsay Snow and her style that just brings that out, man. And I think Thunder Rosa brings the best out in her too, You got to have that right opponent. I'm not sure that Eva Lise is that opponent. She's a fixture in the tag team scene, and I'm not as high on her. I'm nothing against her, but Lindsay Snow, man, she's got that it factor that was mentioned in the chat, and what you're alluding to there, Gary.
Yeah. More on AEW, Tony Khan did a press scrum ahead of AEW Dynamite this week, which is coming up later tonight. If you guys aren't aware, winter is coming, and you're going to see Jon Moxley take on Kenny Omega. This world title on the line, so that's going to be awesome. But why am I bringing this up? Well, they mentioned the NWA Championship. Sorry, I was trying to find my spot here. They asked Tony Khan about building congruency between the NWA and the AEW women's divisions and maximizing opportunities for the female talents. Tony Khan had this to say: Serena Deeb, who is a full-time AEW wrestler and is a really important part of our roster, is the NWA Women's World Champion. So, I mean, there was definitely a relationship, and there's definitely a good chance you're going to see the NWA title defended here. But the AEW women's title is still our top priority. We have a great women's champion in Hikaru Shida. She's defended the title against many top contenders, and I think there's still some good matches in front of her. I understand what people are saying about the division. I should have probably done better to put some of Nyla's story when she said she wasn't going to wrestle again, and Vicky said she was going to wrestle again until they got a title shot. I should have used that on Dynamite more. I watch Dark very closely and work on Dark very closely and book Dark, so I'm obviously watching Dark, but sometimes I forget that there's that only about half the audience watches Dark for us typically. I probably should have put that on. And then, to be honest, the time in the real world, Vicky was not available to come those weeks. Anyway, to skip ahead, he says, I think that definitely our women's title is our top priority, but Serena is one of our best women's wrestlers, and she is the NWA Women's World Champion. I have been working with Billy, booking the matches here with him for the NWA title. I enjoy working with Billy, and I've enjoyed working with AAA in the past. We've sent wrestlers to New Japan many times, but I definitely consider Sheeta and the AEW Women's World title our top priority. But Serena is definitely somebody to keep an eye on. She is one of our top stars. So anyway, he did reference that a little bit. I just thought that was interesting just to hear some of his thoughts there. If you guys didn't catch the media scrum, you can find it online. I like the NWA title being in the mix personally because it's the best thing you can see right now. Like as far as NWA stuff, I have fantasies that the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion shows up on AEW someday to compete with Cody Rhodes or something to continue that feud. But anyway, Rob, why you got that look on your face?
You keep your hands off Nick Aldis, okay? You keep your hands off my man. I mean, my champion.
Oh, all right. Well, they also, I'm curious you guys' thoughts. They asked him about if they're looking to expand their pay-per-views as well. And Tony Khan said he was kind of digging their big four, and he wanted to kind of keep it there right now. But how do you guys feel about that? Like, Will, you think like four is a good number? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, it's a throwback to when that's pretty much how it was. I mean, you had big four that you built to. I really like the model that they're using. I mean, tonight's a perfect example. Winter is coming. You're getting a world title match. You're getting a battle royal. It has a pay-per-view feel, but it's on television. I love that. So they can build to little, like milestone episodes of Dynamite like this. They had Bash at the Beach on Chris Jericho's cruise. They've done various other things that were on TV, but they were really had a pay-per-view feel to them. So I like that, and then I like really reserving big moments for the pay-per-view. I mean, because you got to remember too, I mean, the stark difference between them and WWE is WWE, they're on pay-per-view, but typically people subscribe to the network. So if they're a subscriber, they're just watching it. It doesn't feel like you're paying for it like a traditional pay-per-view. AEW is not that way. You're actually paying for it. You're paying $50-$60 for it to watch it. So they're going to reserve, those for just big moments. And I don't like the monthly pay-per-views. I think it's oversaturated. I think WWE has lost a lot of momentum with that. And even the big four in WWE, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and SummerSlam, they don't even feel as big anymore because they're like 4 weeks from the last pay-per-view. And so it's, I like their model. I'm happy to hear that he wants to stick with that.
Oh, you're 100% correct. I was going to say the exact same thing. I don't care who you are. I don't care what kind of spectacle they try to make it. WrestleMania today is not the same as WrestleMania 7. It's not the same as WrestleMania 3. It doesn't feel nearly as big, and the singular reason that is because they over pay-per-view jokers to death. A pay-per-view is a super card. If everything's a super card, then nothing's a super card. And I like how AEW is keeping things close to the fans. It's the most accessible big brand out there, and There are lots of legitimate criticisms against AEW, and we hear a lot from James Lawrence, a lot in voicing those all the time, and those are well received, and I get where he's coming from. But say what you want about them, AEW is the most fan accessible promotion right now as far as big time players go.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be your cup of tea in terms of the in-ring action and their style, but if you back up and you look at the overall strategy of the promotion, it's more in line with what we love, which is that old school traditional prize fight wrestling feel, than, as you said, Rob, any of the other more accessible brands.
Well, guys, we want to come back and talk to you a little bit more. I know some of you are having to jump over to MLW. We are not going to fault you for that. Thanks for hanging out with us. I see Roxas saying he's got us still on the phone, so thank you, sir. for doing that for us. Corey, I know, had to bail. He'll catch the replay. Hey, man, we totally get it. We know we're pulling probably half of MLW's viewership over to our show, so we apologize to MLW. I'm sure. But we want to come back and we want to talk to you guys about a few other things. We want to include you guys more in the conversation. So get your questions, your comments, your topics you want to talk about already. Ready so that we can discuss them. We're going to talk about the AEW rankings going into tonight's show because thankfully AEW actually puts out rankings. They actually talk about those kind of things. So that's prize fight stuff if there ever was stuff. And so we're going to focus on it while it's available. And if WWE do it, we'd focus on them. But we might bring up some WWE. We might have some stuff there. We want to put over a little Ring of Honor too when we get back and anything else big going on. And of course, like I said, whatever's on your minds. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
You're now listening to the sounds of the game.
Call me the national treasure, like I'm Trevor McDonald. The diamond in the rough, shining past the pain and the struggle. Climb the summit, now they clamour for the glamour and hustle. Ask the cameraman to zoom in when I'm making them humble. A to the Z, been face to face with dangerous fiends. Run from oblivion to chasing gladiatorial dreams. Now they pack coliseums for this colossal machine. The biggest British invasion since the lads of Yellow Submarine. Suit and tie, superplexes on my Uber Flex. Schooling with the truth and straight shooting next. Go to Billy Corgan, I've been smashing pumpkins all my life. Stunting till I die, stunning them like Austin in his prime. Clotheslining parasites, rotten apples antagonized. Chew them up and spitting at these pips like I'm Gladys Knight. Set the goals, lock foes and choke holes. Swallow souls and then pose with his 10 pounds of gold. All rise when I enter the room. Ready or not, here comes the boom. God save the king. Step forward if you're staking a claim. Come for my throne, then I'm bringing the pain. God save the king. All hail when I ride into town. The real world champ's holding the crown. God save the king. Rule the waves in this glorious reign. Bow down when you mention my name. God save the king. Turnbuckle tactics, slamming across the canvas. It's a camera snapping candidly. Capture this heir apparent on the pedestal. Presidential views across the vestibule. A testament, it's a blessing testing my fortitude. The force of nature forming to form an orderly queue. The dealers holding aces and eights, bluffing you fools. Scuffing your crews, crushing the rules up in disputes. I'm breaking through with nothing to lose. Stop your excuse. The real world's champ has got the game in the cobra. Clutching the camp, pressing gorillas, dropping the shoulder. Taming the lion, slaying these giants on every corner. There's no holds barred when I de-establish the order. One king but two sides to every story. I made an impact so I'm bound for glory. It's nickel down economics when I'm overseas. No Irish charm me like it's over in the clover leaf. All rise when I enter the room. Ready or not, here comes the boom. God save the king. Step forward if you're staking a claim. Come for my throne, then I'm bringing the pain. God save the king. All hail when I ride into town. The real world champ's holding the crown. God save the king. Rule the waves in this glorious reign. Bow down when you mention my name. God save the king.
He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do drugs. His only vice is wanting to be just like me.
Welcome back, Will. Welcome back, Rob.
Welcome back.
It's good to see
everyone.
Look at James Lawrence even loving that video, and he's a metalhead. He said,
"So good,
Man,
so good."
Was that you talking about Tool today on social media? He's saying Tool. The band Tool, one of the great metal bands ever.
All time.
My lovely wife's absolute favorite band, J. Cal's favorite band.
Top five for me, for sure.
They're great, man. But he put up something about tool art. You know, the Alex Gray art about whether it's rock art or whether it's cold medicine or flu medicine advertisement.
Oh, Rob, you got some trouble right before the break. It looks like 90s Wrestling Podcast not digging your comments on the Royal Rumble not being big. I saw that.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's not big. I'm not saying that WrestleMania is not big either. I'm just saying compared to the way it felt prior to the saturation of the market, I mean, it doesn't feel to me. And this is a matter of opinion. So if this is his promotion that he's into, who am I to say he's wrong? I'm just saying for me, doesn't feel that important when compared. Not that it's not important at all, but when compared to the pay-per-views of the late 80s, early 90s, you know, up to about 96, 97, you know, it doesn't have the same feel to it anymore.
It doesn't.
Crockett Cup felt more important than what the Royal Rumble felt like.
I ain't gonna argue that.
True.
Yeah, when I go back on the network right now that I have a subscription to, just because of this show, I watch like those old pay-per-views and especially Royal Rumbles. Royal Rumble has always been one of my favorite shows. Like I love the Royal Rumble, but back in the day, it did feel bigger. It felt like a bigger deal, but that was also back in the day when I could tell you, I mean, late 80s, early 90s, like going through that period, I could tell you like every single winner of every pay-per-view because it was strictly SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. Those were the ones you got. And eventually they threw in like King of the Ring and that kind of thing in there, but whatever. Anyway, but I still personally, I love the Royal Rumble, but mostly because you could really gamble on it. Like it's fun to gamble. Every year, we should do this with the fam this time. Every year, me and some buddies, we would get in, and you put like $5 at least in, and you get like however many people participate. You get to separate the pot. You get 30 wrestlers, and you divide it up into however many people. So maybe you get 2 or whatever, and you drop numbers in a hat, and then you just draw numbers. Whatever number you get, that's your person. You don't know who's coming out when. So you got the number 15 pick. Well, it's Drew McIntyre. Good for you, pal. Like you might win all the money, but it could be, I don't know, Gilbert, and so chances aren't good. It just it's a gamble. It's fun,
and I'm sure it's fun. And again, I'm not here to impugn.
Don't take away from our fun, Rob.
No, that's great. That's great. But listen, 90s Wrestling Podcast. I was born in the 70s. I'm gonna tell you. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't care who likes it or however many people like it. I don't get into gimmick concepts. I don't get into the Survivor Series. I don't get into the Rumble. I don't care if it's like, let God be true. They're every man. I don't care what anybody thinks. It's not my cup of tea. It's okay. It's entertaining, but I take Starrcade 83, those straight up matches. There's one gimmick match. Well, 2 if you count a cage match. You got the dog collar match. I take that any day over any Royal Rumble ever. You know, I mean, it's, And most of what the NWA does today over any Royal Rumble. But that's not to say it's not entertaining. It's just not to say that everyone looks forward to it. Well, that would not be true because I don't. Maybe a lot of people do, but everybody doesn't. And a lot of people don't, in fact.
Well, you know, with the audience we deal with, and we're aware of this, or, you know, generally WWE's not the hot commodity in our audience. It's really not. But that's our cross to bear. I will say this for Rock Says 79, the Rumble winner has become so predictable because of Vegas odds, but it's fun to see the surprise entrances. We gamble on both Rumbles as well. It's fun. One thing you touched on, Rock, is that I wish every once in a while they would just like blow your mind with who wins the Royal Rumble. You know, not that it should happen every time, but just every so often, not make it like the obvious pick. Like last year, it's like Drew McIntyre. You're like, yeah, probably. And but if it was just like some rando, it's just like, no, there's no way that guy's getting a title shot. So it just it would be more fun if it could be more unpredictable. Will, I'm sure you've got comments here.
Well, I mean, my comments are just, I mean, in terms of if you're looking at the WWE in 2020, yes, the Royal Rumble is exciting. Yes, WrestleMania is exciting. But if you're looking at, to Rob's point, and we just learned, Rob is 70. Guys, he's 70 years old. He like if you're looking at it in terms of history, obviously that's going to change your perspective. And that 90s podcast brings up a good point. I mean, wrestling's in a different place now than it was 20 years ago. Agreed. But we're kind of looking at it in the scope of history, not just the island of 2020. I mean, I don't know that I would say that I look forward to Royal Rumble, but I think when I realized that, like, oh, today's Royal Rumble day, I get a little excited. And I'm like, oh, that'll be something fun to watch, because it does have big implications. So, you know, and as again, in terms of like looking at WWE in 2020 on an island as a promotion, as a show, it is exciting. But I just, when you look at wrestling as a whole, it's not the most exciting thing going on, in my opinion. Again, my opinion.
Yeah, I think we're with you.
Yeah, these are matters of opinion, and again, I can appreciate any wrestling fan, and if WWE is their thing, we're still kindred spirits. I mean, that's a lot of people who like Royal Rumble, and I've got friends right down the road, man. They're and a friend of our show, Wrestling Days, man. I mean, he lives for it. You would think everything is the biggest thing that ever happened. He's so entertaining, and he derives joy from it, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. Definitely not. Yeah. Most of our circles.
I just like the idea that we can all have different favorite things. I love we try to touch on as much of this wrestling product as we can. Over on the Cinema Shock podcast with the movie stuff, I always look at like our horror fans as the same way. There's so many different variations, so many flavors of horror movie, slashers and thrillers and like cerebral movies and like all kinds of stuff. Everybody's got their own style that they enjoy. I think the same thing happens with wrestling, but at the end of the day, one thing I love about the horror community, I'm hoping we can help bring to the wrestling community, is that when you meet somebody else that's a part of the wrestling community, you're like, you're a brother or a sister. Like we all love pro wrestling, and that's the important thing.
And I think similar to that, I mean, when I come across somebody or talk to somebody who is really excited about the WWE, I don't like, I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? So it's just a preference thing. Like I'm happy that anybody would get excited about any kind of pro wrestling, you know, whether it's sports entertainment centric or prize fight, you know, focused. You know, pro wrestling's pro wrestling. And so it's good. It's just a matter of opinion.
Rob, you're talking your way out of getting put over in that chat with Doug Williams.
What I meant to say was Royal Rumble is the junk, right? It is the junk. I love it. It's the you know. I appreciate your kind words, 90s, and you know we respect you and your opinion. You're always respectful in your disagreement, and that's part of it. But you got to.
And if you're watching or listening now, check out that 90s wrestling podcast. It does great interviews. Has a great interview with the champ, the Real World's champ, Nick Aldis, that we've put over. That's how we met, and is regularly doing stuff. So anyway, go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
And if you like hearing him and Rob argue, join our Discord because they're both on there. And our Discord is a lively pro wrestling conversation, pretty much daily, and it's a great space.
Yeah. I've been watching SWE Fury because of Roscoe in our Discord, and I'm figuring out the best ways to have the heart to say to him, I don't like it as much as you do.
Well, I think you just did.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's watching.
Roscoe, if you're watching or listening, that was it. I'm sorry. Not that I don't like it. I'm happy to see Tim Storm is a big part of that program, and love some Tim Storm and Jack Stane. But the part with SWE Fury, I don't know if we have any fans, so I won't spend too much time on it. But I will say this. Roscoe, if you're in our Discord, you know that he is a big proponent of no silliness, just real wrestling. Like he wants it. But SWE Fury it'd be pretty silly sometimes. Like some of the stuff I see, and I'm like, really, Roscoe? Like some of this is, I mean, one of the main people's like a juggalo, and I don't know, man. It's whatever. Let's put over something else, guys. We got to take a second here to talk about. I know that you and I, especially, like, we really want to get in on this. Ring of Honor on Monday night, right before Monday Night Raw. Like, Monday Night Raw is the big show and everything. And I've never been like super into Ring of Honor. I know, Will, you used to be, and you're working your way back in. But I started back on Ring of Honor last week, I think. But this week, last week was good, and I was like, I'm going to tune in again. But this week, I cannot say enough good things about Ring of Honor this week. If you guys have not checked it out, it's available for you for free, like on Fight TV, on the Fight TV app. Just watch Ring of Honor. It is worth your time. If you like prize fight wrestling, there are literally 2 matches on this whole entire show. The rest of it is putting over upcoming matches and that sort of thing. And the 2 matches that they have, a lot of the time is dedicated to giving you all of the context and backstory that you need to appreciate the matches that are happening on the show. And you do. By the time it gets to them, you know exactly what's at stake, why they're fighting, who they're fighting for, everything about it. And the matches, they deliver 100%. So on this week's episode, you get Josh Woods versus Jay Lethal in a pure rules match. And it is fantastic. It is a fantastic technical wrestling match. The best one you're going to see or have seen maybe this year, as far as like pure technical wrestling.
The lead up to that too, I mean, they gave a good, 10 minutes to Josh Woods' promo, and then Jay Lethal, obviously a legend. I mean, he gets on there and cuts his promo and his video package. And you're right, by the time you get to the match, you're bought in. Like, they're doing it right. I mean, they're making the best of the current situation. They're saying, you know what, if we can only book 2 matches, let's make both of them 15 and 20 minutes, and let's do some backstory. Let's promo some stuff. There was even and you might be about to mention it, but after this match, there was a clip of an interview with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. They had a sit down that's available on Honor Club, which I'm not a member of yet. I'm real close. A couple more good weeks of this programming, and I'm probably going to be in. But and just hearing that story progress, I got really excited sitting there watching that, imagining Mike Bennett being back, but also just imagining when they split at some point and have a one-on-one match, how incredible that's going to be. I'm always thinking like 10 steps ahead. You know what I'm saying? Story.
No, I hear you, man. I love the little promo from Jay Briscoe where he's like talking about like, man, I've been watching my brother. And he's like, we got a chance. Final battle's coming up. And I'm looking at, we're 12-time tag team champions. You know what sounds better than that? 13-time tag team champions, but your ass is caught up in this EC3 stuff. Like, man, what is your deal? And he's like, whatever. You got to do that? I'm going to find another partner. We going to get them belts. And it's just like, there's that stuff. But to go back, if I could, to the to the Farmer and, or not Farmer. I'm thinking of John Farmer in the chat. Sorry, you're always on my mind, sir. To Josh Woods and Jay Lethal, if I could, the beauty part of that match is it's just like sit downs with each of them leading up to the match. And like right before that, there's a promo between what do they call themselves? The Foundation. It's like John Gresham, Jay Lethal, and I had it down here. Rhett Titus and Tracy Williams. And they're talking about wanting to restore honor to Ring of Honor. Not unlike the EC3 thing where he's questioning it, but they're saying they want to use pure, real professional wrestling to show you what Ring of Honor is supposed to be about. And they're going to do it. They're going to win every belt in the business. And they're going to come in and take this thing over. And I love that already. But then you had these sit downs. I had no backstory before this stuff. I didn't know Josh Woods from Adam. I didn't know anything about him. But him sitting down talking about how Lethal's a veteran, but he's the guy who's accomplished more faster than Lethal did. And he comes from the MMA world, and he's like, the thing that he's good at, that he knows, is like there's no move that doesn't have a counter. There's no hold that doesn't have a reverse. there's like all of this stuff. Like
foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. Because man, when him and Jay lock up, by the time they finish those promos, you are ready to see these guys go. And there's at one point, even they utilize the silence in the room so well because they're talking trash the whole time. And there's one point where he like hip tosses Jay Lethal over, or no, Jay Lethal has to use his first rope break on a submission. He comes up and Josh Woods is like smiling, like sitting there with his mouth guard in, like smiling. And Jay Lethal looks up at him and he's just like, wipe that stupid goofy ass look off your face. You think this is funny? And like Josh Woods takes his mouthpiece out and he's like, no, man, I don't think it's funny. You're Jay Lethal. I think this is sad. And like puts his mouthpiece in. And they go back at it. And man, it is so good. It is so good. And
I mean, I mean, you know, the Pure Rules, I had not really been exposed to it till these last 2 episodes. I am a fan. If you are a fan of prize fight wrestling, you should be a fan of these Pure Wrestling rules. They're a little different than what you're used to if you know you're overall pro wrestling fan. But dude, it just feels so much like a real prize fight. And these 2 guys really made it feel that way. And they start the match off, and man, the whole first like it was almost like 5-minute segments. It went like 14 minutes and 14 seconds or something like that. It went almost to the 15-minute time limit. But the first 5 minutes was just submissions. I mean, they were on the floor, trading submissions, going back and forth. And then the second 5 minutes, they get into more rope style wrestling, drop kicks, stuff like that. And then bringing it down the home stretch, a combination of both. And it was just, man, it was an entertaining match. Josh Woods, I remember when he debuted on Ring of Honor. So it's been a while since I've watched Ring of Honor. I think last time I watched Ring of Honor before last week, like Cody was in the Bullet Club. That's how long it's been. So, you know, it's kind of reintroducing me to it. But I do remember when Josh Woods debuted, and he's beefed up a lot since then. He has just become very, very well-rounded in the ring. And it was just a really, really entertaining match. And Jay Lethal, I mean, he's a legend, did an incredible job putting him over. In his promo, one of the things I liked that Jay Lethal said was, you know, last week he had that match against LSG that he won by decision. So they went through the time limit and he won by judge's decision. He said, I didn't win that match. And he said, you know, LSG lost that match because he used more rope breaks than me and that kind of stuff, and kind of the Pure Rules thing. And I just love that. I love that he's like, his pride, he's like, no, I want to win the match. I want to pin him. I want to submit him. I want to win it outright. And so that just it really raised the stakes for this match. And God, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Ring of Honor this week.
And watching the other match in the show, just for everybody to know, is Brody King versus Shane Taylor. And it's another one. It's a hoss fight. Like these 2 big boys, but the most athletic big boys, like, and they are brutal to each other. And they go at it. And there's, again, the same deal. Like there's like 10 minutes of build up to this match of them, like sit down interviews with them telling you why this match is important for them. And basically in this situation, it's because it's for the number 1 contender for the world's heavyweight champion. And so it's a God, I don't want to gush too much because I don't want to put it over so much and disappoint anybody, but Ring of Honor right now, that's the best show that I've seen so far. Midweek here on this show, Ring of Honor is the best show I've seen in wrestling so far this week.
And this is a good case study in how you don't need gimmicks to be an effective storyteller. You know what I mean? You can tell a great story, spend a lot of time doing it, but like they do in a boxing match. You know, you've got your vignettes and your media packages that do in a lead up to a fight that tells the story of how we got there. Ring of Honor does this so well. They're so focused on being prize fighting, all the way down to the requirement to shake hands and all the Pure Rules and that kind of thing. Jay Lethal, man, one of the great talkers in the history of the game. I mean, he's up there with anybody, with Eddie Kingston, with Ric Flair, with Aldis and Eli Drake and all that. And to speak about Brody King, talking about the bigness and the brutality of this guy, Gary and I have seen this guy. We saw him at the GPB studio. We saw he and Marty Skrull go toe-to-toe with Strictly Business all over that GPB studio. I'm talking about up in the seats. I mean, it was pandemonium. And this dude is a big hoss of a guy, very, very physical. And to see him and to compete in Ring of Honor in a prize fight under gentlemen's rules and still do his thing, I think that's a plus.
Well, and he earned a world title shot, right?
Yeah,
he
did.
At Final Battle. So I think there it is.
There you go. That's your final
Roosh.
battle right there. Roosh
Brody
versus
King.
Brody King for the
for
ROH
this.
championship. That there were the thing I want to say, just even in the build up to this, it is about these two big hoss guys. Like Shane Taylor, honest to God, again, never seen a match that guy's in, but I am a fan. Shane Taylor is outstanding as a wrestler. But there were layers to the match too, like all these different layers to the fight. Just to throw it out there, just besides the fact that it's like Brody King, you've had these opportunities and blah blah blah, but like Brody King even saying like, oh, Shane Taylor thinks he's got privilege, like he's doing this thing, and Shane Taylor's like got this side of him is Shane Taylor's very calm and well spoken and straightforward, and he's like, you hear how I'm sitting here talking to you right now. He's like, and Brody King's the big metal guy who walks out here in a ski mask looking like a thug and all of this stuff. And he's like, I'm a big black man. He's like, you want to talk about privilege? He's like, if I walked out in a ski mask and just walked through here, he's like, parents would hold their kids closer. And he's like, and you would turn the other corner, like you wouldn't even want to mess with me. He's like, so don't talk to me about how look and character matters here. And I don't know. There's just there's layers to the thing that you're just like, man, I want to see these guys go. Boy, do they! But it's a solid match. Nation Show, what's up, buddy? Happy Wednesday kickoff. All right, so we've rambled enough. I will do this. We teased it at the beginning of it. At the beginning of the break there, that one of the things we love that AEW does, not to gush so much. Hey, we'll mention Impact real quick because I don't know how else to lead into this. I haven't seen Impact yet. I don't know if you guys have, but they officially did get a final resolution match for December 12th. Chris Bay versus Rich Swann. That should be fun. Those two are going to go at it for the Impact World title. And the other thing we wanted to talk about with AEW, I think, is that I wish that everybody would do this. And if everybody does it, I swear to God, we'll take time to talk about it. Will, why are you laughing? What did I do?
Because Rob was just shaking his head. I have no idea why.
Oh, just about Swan and his, claiming to be the real champion and all that. Anyway, that's
gotcha.
Every time I see him, I'm just like,
oh, Rob's not having it. This is one thing that came out literally today on AEW's Twitter feed, which I don't know, man. I just appreciate it. And I don't agree with everything. And I think we're going to talk about that for a minute. But let's start with the men's singles. They do this. Here you go. The AEW men's singles rankings. Obviously, you've got the TNT champion Darby Allin there and the AEW world champion Jon Moxley, but number one contender Kenny Omega, which makes sense. There he is. And MJF at number 2, Lance Archer number 3, Brody Lee number 4, Hangman Page number 5. I haven't seen Brody Lee in forever, so I don't even know where that falls in. But I don't know. And does Cody Rhodes being in this ranking even matter since he hasn't, or he can't fight for the world title? I don't know. You guys have anything that stands out to you about the men's rankings here?
Well, I don't think it's totally about the title. It's just the rankings. And, I don't know that they've always followed the rankings for title contenders. I mean, I don't see Eddie Kingston on there, but he had 2 title matches, right? So I think this is just something it's kind of a fun aspect, something that they do. I think surprising people on there, Ray Phoenix and Matt Hardy. That's pretty cool to see them on there. Pac, glad he's back. Want to see more of him. But I also like how they're treating the titles. I mean, Moxley and Darby Allin are kind of out there on their own because they got gold. So that's pretty cool to see. But yeah, I like this. I mean, I think I would, again, like you said, I wish everybody did this because it's kind of cool to look at and talk about, and don't know if anything jumps out to you guys.
I like rankings. I guess where I'd like to see us go as a community is I'd like us to develop a system. We've alluded to this before, not necessarily a ranking system, but a rating system or a score, like you might see in international chess, which is a version of prize fighting, where you're not saying that this guy's got this international rating of this score and therefore he outranks this guy. It just means that through your hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and accolades, the win-loss record that you pile up, the quality wins that you pile up, your ventures into other factors, maybe even take into some non-in-ring indicators like ability on the mic and all that, but you would develop some sort of universal score that might not necessarily be a ranking, but would be like almost like a skill level that you attain. Where this is an 1800 level guy, or something like that. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes sense. I think we've talked a little bit about that. This is interesting too on this. Because I'm with you, Rob. I think we should do like a universal ranking. That would be a lot of fun. But Ryan Romano pointing out 21-0 Moxley. Wow, they don't talk about that much. Like John Moxley is undefeated in AEW.
I think these are the 2020 rankings. Possibly. I don't know if this is like all time. Is it?
It can't be because Chris Jericho's not on there, and you've got other guys like Frankie Kazarian and some others that there are other names on there that project higher above than Ray Phoenix would. I'd
like to know how they calculate that grade score, because that seems like how they're ultimately ranked.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's a calculation of like matches fought.
Jedi Warrior confirming this is 2020, so he's saying that's what this is. Predictions, fellas. Ryan Romano thinks he will be undefeated tonight. Do you think John Moxley is walking out with that title, or is Kenny Omega?
I think Ryan's right. We'll preview that. We'll preview that here in a minute.
Ryan knows his junk. I'll tell you this. He's a man who is a fan of the sport, a fan of prize fighting, and I wouldn't be one to bet against Ryan Romano. I think right now, next to Nick Aldis, the most dominant person in the business is John Moxley.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob, I think I'm leaning with you. I think John's gonna get out of this one. I do, but we'll find out soon enough. Let's get to the other two rankings here, and then we'll jump in with the chat and whatever you guys want to cover. You got the tag team rankings as well that they released. Now this one I don't understand because 14-2, the Dark Order down there. But
how are they below like Jurassic Express?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Maybe Jurassic Express has fought more matches. I don't understand. They should at least be above the Natural Nightmares. Maybe it's a ratio how they're calculating it. I don't know.
There's got to be some sort of value added score there, depending on if it's a title match or the rating of the opposing team. That has to be factored in.
Yeah, that's probably part too of what you're talking about, Rob, like factoring in the difficulty almost of the matches. I mean, if you've got a guy who's 10-0 against 9 jobbers, that can't carry the same weight as a guy who's like 8-2 and has, won a title and defended it,
Well, John Farmer in the chat, brought up Ricky Starks. It should be in the top 10. And I'm wondering because if you count dark matches, Ricky Starks been on like every week and he wins. So maybe it is a little bit about the the opposition that you're facing too, the strength of schedule, so to speak. So maybe that has some part of it as well in this. The women's group looks like this. Hikaru Shida, they only give you the top 5 here, 21-1, which is they actually give the overall here. Look at that, 27-7 for Hikaru Shida. But Big Swole right there at number 1 contender. Nyla Rose, Serena Deeb,
I mean,
the NWA Women's Champion.
You got to know Serena Deeb. I think you're onto something, Rob. She's higher up on that list because she holds that gold, and that's got to be a factor.
Yeah. I don't think anybody would beat Hikaru Shida. It gets a little shady down there when we get past. Big Swole's on there, man. And Big Swole is becoming more of a factor now here of late. But there are some missing faces on this as well. I mean, we think of Lindsay Snow, who's not on there, and she's been involved in a lot of stuff. We think of, you've got a very extensive women's division, and you've got who's the girl that
Britt Baker.
Which one?
Her
name escapes me at the moment. The girl that Nyla Rose defeated for the championship before Hikaru Shida.
Oh, Riho.
I think that was. I don't think she's been active since then, so she might have had like 1 or 2 matches this year. I think that's going to be part of the factor there.
I think she's in Japan, and it's just been an issue of her getting over here.
Yeah. You're missing Britt Baker. You're missing obviously Thunder Rosa.
Britt Baker's an interesting one. I really can't believe Britt Baker. I mean, as far as AEW women, if we're just even factoring in the fact that like she's a strictly AEW talent, Britt Baker's a weird one not to see. But yeah, Thunder Rosa.
She's been injured most of the year. Britt Baker. So yeah, I mean they're getting there. I mean, there's been
these kinds of things are a lot of fun, man.
Right? No,
it's fun.
I was happy to find this. I thought that was a blast. Like they actually put out rankings. I wish everybody did this so that we could talk about them and just discuss them. Like Ring of Honor, WWE, NWA, whoever. Just put out rankings. And like you said, Rob, maybe we're just gonna have to start making our own, and so we can make sure we've always got rankings to discuss. But there we go. Before we got a little bit left before we head into AEW Dynamite coming up. Winter is coming. NXT coming up. There's lots of stuff to talk about. Did you guys have something else you wanted to discuss before we just throw it in the chat for the last little bit here?
No, I mean, unless we want to preview Dynamite. I'm not sure what's going on NXT. Sorry, but big night for Dynamite if we wanted to preview Winter is coming.
Well, there's a good chance that AEW or that WWE did not tell us anything about. Wait, look, I'm going to do it right now. They're never good at this. Preview NXT preview. War Games Go Home episode. Oh, so the pay-per-view is coming up. I did. Yeah. Did you guys both see that Kyle O'Reilly Pete Dunne match?
We talked about it Sunday.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if everybody saw it. That's so good. God. Let's see here. WWE has announced just one match for tonight's show. Shotzi Blackheart will face Raquel Gonzalez in a ladder match to determine which team gets the War Games advantage in the women's match. You also see the reveal of the final member of Team Shotzi Blackheart. The team currently features Shotzi, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley. Candice LeRae is teaming with Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, and Toni Storm. And that's it. That's all they know about NXT. So congratulations. That's it. Let's see here. Let's pull up a AEW Dynamite preview. Winter is here.
It's coming.
Yeah. Well, obviously, that Kenny Omega is taking on Jon Moxley, so that's the big one. Let's see. Do they have anything else? That actually may be all they've got for Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. That is happening. So that MJF, Wardlow, Miro, Kip Sabian, Orange Cassidy, Sean Spears, Scorpio Sky, Matt Sydal, Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, Matt Hardy, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Sammy Guevara, and Hangman Page. That's happening. Oh, is that the ring thing that MJF won? That is what that is. Yeah, that's happening tonight. Chris Jericho is taking on Frankie Kazarian. Well, I'm sold on that too.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds awesome. And Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes versus Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, and Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch.
So now Britt Baker. I'm not trying to be a sleuth here. I'm not trying to be Inspector Gadget, but I remember right before Brian Rosa left to the dojo, he said, "Watch tonight. It's going to be a good show."
He said, "I think it's going to be a good show."
Yeah.
he might just be a fan.
It's a good point. That's a good point, Will.
He might have been talking about Moxley Omega. I don't know. You never know. I would just watch it though, just to be sure.
Yeah, could be good. We'll find out tonight. Britt Baker's in a match, and she's been sticking her nose in places it doesn't belong. So we'll find out.
Oh, should be fun.
What do you guys want to talk about in the chat? This is, of course.
I'll tell you what everybody's been talking about, which I've been avoiding, and that's that Jeff Hardy bump last night.
Ooh, yeah, I see the chat talking about that too.
That was not fun to watch. Not after seeing his brother go through something similar. Those boys need to. I'm not going to say they need to hang it up, but they need to dial it back just a bit. I think they've established their place in history enough that they don't have to constantly be smashing their heads on floors and steps and things like that. But man, it was rough. If you didn't see it, he flipped off the turnbuckle onto a table, hit his head on the steel stairs on the way down. It was not fun to watch.
Yeah, I was looking to see if I could get a clip of that at all, but I don't know that I'll be able to. That work? No. Well, I could do this. Get ready to get crazy.
Whoa.
Oh.
Boom.
Oh.
Look at that. Oh, Jesus. Why?
Yeah,
that's enough. That's enough.
All right. But that's what happened to Jeff Hardy. That is nuts. Like, what is that guy doing?
I mean, you guys see what I'm saying though, right? I mean, these guys they're good in terms of like legendary status. Like they don't need to be doing this anymore. Like those kind of spots.
He doesn't need to be jumping off the taxi over the entrance ramp, like whatever it is, like onto the Dudleys over 4 tables.
Yeesh.
Yeah, you're right. Ryan Romano saying they're looking at some serious physical issues in the next few years. Man, I hope the best for him. I was honest to God, like going into that match, I'm not even kidding. I was watching Jeff Hardy walk down the ramp and like just dance around and like doing the stuff. And I was literally thinking about Jeff Hardy during that match. Like, man, he's lucky he just like gets around like he does. Like he looks good. Like he looks in shape. Like he looks physically okay because he's done some nuts stuff. I don't know. Our boy James Lawrence had something to say. Stupid spot.
Yeah, well, that I agree. That was.
All right. Anything else we should bring up before we let you guys move on into the night? It's a big night of wrestling. AEW Dynamite, WWE NXT. Guys, I don't know. Did we successfully tackle our first midweek wrestling show?
I think we did. And I mean, you guys let us know in the chat what you thought, what you want us to talk about. We're trying to keep this Wednesday show just a little more casual, a little cash, and just talk about stuff. And I think we nailed it. I think we did.
Yeah. Tell us what you want to know. Like what's the ideal like midweek recap show? Like what's it talk about? Do you want like full recaps of Monday Night Raw, Ring of Honor, all of those things? Or do you just want it to be loose, just like this? Do you want us to just kind of just shoot the breeze about whatever? We'd love to know. Thanks for everybody showing up here. we greatly appreciate you being here. It's awesome. It's our first one, so it was nice to see a bunch of you, a bunch of our folks from previous shows, some folks we're brand new with. Hopefully you subscribe, hit the like button. You can see all of our Twitter and Instagram and other stuff handles. It's at the NWA pod on everything right now. That's where we're at. We're working on that. I got to figure out what we switch to since this is pro wrestling. But anyway, Ryan Romano wanted to put up our boy DNC Digital, so I just wanted to bring that up. Sorry, Will. He had Shaw Guerrero on there, and it's up on the YouTube channel, so check that out.
I am working on merch, so stay tuned over the next week. We will get some This Is Pro Wrestling merchandise on the store for you guys, so stay tuned for that. Jedi
Warrior says, nothing WWE. Recap from ROH, MLW, AEW, NWA, UWN, AAA, and NJPW. Hey, New Japan is another thing we'd love to get in. We're like gradually expanding, and New Japan's a little bit of a tougher one for us. So we're working our way in there. But if any of you guys are like NJPW faithful and you follow it religiously, let us know where to start, how you do it, when to watch, all that kind of stuff. Because we can keep up with, the big news stories and the big events, but let us know the best way to stay on top of all that, because it's probably the least accessible, promotion here in the States. So yeah, I'm struggling with them because I work and I have to have my monitors to do work, and then so I have my TV in front of me. So if I can't get it right there on my TV very easily, it's a pain. So Impact and New Japan are like my biggest struggles right now. Like I saw somebody earlier mention All Japan, and that's even a whole other level. So it'd be great if I could watch all of them, but we can only do what we can do. But thank you guys. Thank you, Jedi. Thank you, James. Nation Show. Ryan, obviously. Woodland Goblin. Rock Says. Wrestling with the MMA. All of you guys for showing up here, hanging out with us, talking to us on our first night, our first Wednesday night, and an early show, leading into a big night of wrestling. We want to know what you think. So show us in the comments. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Tell us what you thought of the shows tonight. We'll be around on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Just hit us up. Let you know what you're thinking about it wrestling wise. And if you see something special that happens, like maybe a wild Mera appears or something, let's put it over on the interwebs. But thank you guys. Willie Bowen, thank you for being here. We're going to let you go for now, so you have 10 minutes to get ready for the big stuff. Winter is coming. Winter is here in 10 minutes. We love you guys. But until Sunday night, when we see you again and recap the whole week, enjoy your gravy cake.